This talk we're going to talk about 16 words. Commerce Clause, which is Article 1, Section 8, Paragraph 3, 16 words. To regulate commerce with foreign nations and among several states and with the Indian tribes. 16 words. Okay, now the point behind the Commerce Clause is that, and also, okay, if this is to regulate commerce with foreign nations, between the states, Indian tribes. So what you're being given via the Constitution to the federal government, whatever applies to foreign nations applies to the states, applies to the Indian tribe. It's not different. It's not like the foreign nations have a given set of like federal responsibilities and the states have a given set, and then Indian tribes have a different set. It's like it should be all the same. It's given in the same sentence and not made a distinction. So if you can't regulate England's banks or England's insurance industry or any other type of regulation over in England, you shouldn't be given those rights to do it in the States, and you're not given the rights. That's why we have casinos on Indian reservations. So those 16 words have been manipulated since the Depression, where taxes were 3% of our gross national product. There's now greater than 25% because they are involved in all these programs. I find it very interesting, it's a particular of the left. A particular argument is a form of argument is called name and negate. Have you heard that? To name and negate something, that you first name it and then you tell them why it's bad. And then, like, so Joe Biden's new talk is now, this isn't your father's Republican Party, it's the Tea Party. This isn't your father's Republican Party, it's the Tea Party Republican Party. And how radical a concept it is that, we have Tea Parties involved. And I don't think, like, looking around here, we don't look that radical. I mean, but, now, they've taken this, now there's a couple of cases. I want to talk about two cases. One was the case of Wickard and Filburn, okay? And the reason I'm talking about this is because the Congress has interpreted their responsibilities on a state level. All right, so Filburn was a farmer in Ohio. The Department of Agriculture had set production quotas, and this kind of stems from the Depression. This Filburn harvested nearly 12 acres of wheat above his governmental allotment. He argued that the excess wheat was unrelated to commerce, since he grew it for his own use. He grew it for his own cows, his own family. He was fined anyway. The court reasoned that he had not grown the extra wheat, he would have had to purchase the wheat. Therefore, he was indirectly affecting interstate commerce. Now, that's a real stretch. But I mean, like, that started a lot of things, and that started a lot of federal programs. And the next one, the more recent one, was the U.S. versus Lopez. In 1990, Congress passed the Gun-Free School Zone Act, citing their powers under the Commerce Clause. Naming the possession of a firearm in a local school zone substantially affected interstate commerce. So why do you ask that? Violent crimes raises insurance costs, and those costs are spread throughout the population. Violent crime reduces the willingness of individuals to travel to high-crime areas within the country. Finally, crime threatens the learning environment, thereby reducing natural productivity. While all of this might be true, the relevant question is whether Congress has constitutional authority to pass the Gun-Free Zone Act. The U.S. Supreme Court ruled that it didn't. We were to accept the government's arguments, we are hard-pressed to possess any activity by an individual that Congress is without power to regulate. In other words, the hours children spend studying could be regulated by Congress. The amount of rest they get, where they eat, what they eat. Congress should easily manufacture a case for regulation of these activities based on their perverted interpretation of the Commerce Clause. And then it actually came up when Elena Kagan was being confirmed in the Supreme Court. She actually said the Commerce Clause could allow Congress to dictate what children eat. That was there. So, 16 words. Okay. Also, what's very interesting about that 16 words in the Constitution resulted in a 2,700-page healthcare bill or a 3,000-page banking bill. So we have, you know, just subverting. Okay? Now, I think it's important to stress the Constitution, and I think Marvin is going to talk about a little bit of the 14th Amendment tonight, because if we would just follow these little tiny guidelines in this book, our federal government would shrink.